Kara, what do you think this event can mean for women's basketball globally?
The sport of women's basketball globally is exploding. Not just in popularity, we feel that domestically in the US, but the talent around the world, in particular in Europe, in particular in France.
Yeah.
There's no better example of that than the women's gold medal game last year in Paris in the Olympics. France has one of the best and deepest and most talented national teams. They have a very deep, young talent pool of young women that are playing at a high level. There's been an influx of young French players in the WNBA as well. So I think the exposure to high-level women's college basketball in areas outside of the U.S. hopefully spawns more growth for the game.
Can't explode enough, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned you were here. You were just here as an assistant with the gold medal winning game, our team. But what do you think the responsibility is different? You've been named our U.S. national coach, which includes the Olympics. How is that responsibility different for you?
Well, the best way I can describe it is when you're young and you play for your high school. And I grew up, in a town, and you play for that high school. And when you put on that jersey, you know that you represent everybody in that town. And it's a great feeling. And then I played college ball at the University of Tennessee for Pat Summitt. And when you put on that Tennessee jersey, you know you're representing the state. And there's so many great fans in that state. And then when you go to the WNBA or the NBA, if you're a guy,
where you also won a title,
yeah, you're representing that city, yeah. And so now to coach the national team, you're representing every single American, right? The entire country in one of our country's favorite sports. What an incredible honor! What an incredible opportunity! And so that's not lost on me at all, that I represent everybody that I come across, even if they know I'm the national team coach or not, I know I'm representing them when we go into world competition. So it's a great feeling.
What do you think, or what are your memories of when you got the call? What were you told? What was your reaction?
When I got the call, I was in the Atlanta airport. I was traveling.
You weren't on a payphone.
I was not on a payphone. So, my job requires a lot of travel. And for those of us that travel a lot for work, we get a lot of calls in the airport. We make a lot of calls in the airport. I was in the Atlanta airport. I was in between Terminal B and C in the Atlanta airport walking to my gate, and I got the phone call. I had more of a muted celebration with myself because I was out in public and it was not out. I was just getting the call, being informed. I had time to call my mom, and that was it.
Was that emotional?
I was not emotional on my end because I was around people, so I was trying to explain to her what happened without saying the words because there were people around. But she was a little emotional, yes. And then we took off, and so then I called my sisters when we landed, and it was a great day though. It was a great flight. I was, you say walking on air. Yeah, it's like walking on air. Exactly. That flight was awesome.
So phenomenal. This is not for the piece, but I'll tell you, I was the first woman inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Oh. I know it was wild. Do you follow football?
I do.
The class was Troy Aikman, Reggie White, Warren Moon, John Madden, and myself. Wow. It was nuts. So when they called me, I called our producer shortly thereafter. And but when they called me, my reaction was, you can't take it back. You can't say you dialed the wrong number.
I bet.
But, did you have a moment on the plane where you were just like, I was just a kid and now I'm the U.S. national coach?
I did. I just smiled most of the plane ride. It's very fulfilling when you set a goal and you've worked toward it for a long time. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. I knew that it was a small percentage that I would get to do that. I mean, I think there's only been 13 people in our country's history that have led the women's national team. So it's something that was a goal of mine, but it was something that I wasn't sure that I'd ever attain. It's kind of a timing thing and work toward it. And so getting a chance to attain that was very special, very fulfilling. And I was proud I was proud that I had put the work in and had ascended to the top coaching position in our sport, in our country.
It's like you delivered on the promise.
Mm-hmm. To yourself.
To yourself,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned all those jerseys put on. You had success in all of them. You had high school state success. You went to Final Fours with Pat Summitt. You won Olympic gold. You won a WNBA championship. You were an assistant with the Celtic, now Duke. What philosophies have you picked up from some of those people?
Well, I've been fortunate to be connected to some of the greats in our sport when you think about it, and not just connected that coached me, but that I played with. I mean, the type of talent I played with. So that experiential wisdom I carry with me, everywhere I go. And it's kind of like a backpack, because you can pull out whatever you need when you need it. It's nice. If it starts raining, you pull out your umbrella. You know what I mean? If you get thirsty, you pull out your water bottle.
What is that for you in basketball terms? You're defensive minded, you're in the moment minded.
It could be anything. It could be, let's say we're about to play a big game, and I know what it feels like as a player right before a big game. So it might be that I'm pulling out a tip that I used to use as a player to help me manage the pressure before a big game. It might be seeing in the middle of a game, it might be seeing a particular action that's giving us an issue, and going back to when that particular action gave us an issue as a player, when I was assistant coach, and saying, hey, when that gave us an issue, we did this. So then doing that, right? So there's a lot of different things that you're able to pull out.
What do you use? I know for myself with pressure, I was always the first woman. So, you're on the sideline of the 50-yard line before a Super Bowl talking to the coach. And what used to always help me through was, I used to say, you probably know Bill Russell threw up before playoff games. And I used to say, if it's good enough for Bill Russell, it's good enough for me.
So you used to throw up?
Well, that I just shy of. I got the lipstick and everything. But what was something that you'd pull out of your backpack?
I think it's just, being able to relate to players is important as a coach. And I think having been a player, that gives me a unique way to do that in those critical moments of what it feels like to be in the huddle, before a big possession, and being able to, remain calm and speak to truth, really is what it is in those moments. What has to get done, what is everyone's role and what has to get done in that moment, and, displaying confidence in the players to do so.
Yeah, better than you see some coaches are like, I got nothing. Do you think, you mentioned how this is a time of explosion for the popularity of the women's game. Do you think we could have a second revolution should you win gold in LA?
I think the second part is already happening. When you look at the WNBA and the explosion in popularity, and you look at the sold out crowds, Golden State, a first year expansion team, and sells out every single game, over 18,000 people. You look at the attention surrounding the young players entering the league, whether it's Caitlin Clark, whether it's Paige Beckers, whether it's Angel Reese. You look at the attention surrounding some of the great young college players. I think it's building and building and building, and the name recognition and the brand recognition of all of these young women, it's amazing to see and be a small part of,
I think, though, to win on our soil, I covered the games in '84. That does mean something. I was in France when they won the World Cup, and the whole country just exploded. And I think you might see more young girls because it's in our country. Or to you, what might a second wave revolution look like?
Well, I think what you see is how talented and skilled the players are at younger ages. So that's, to me, what I see. They're playing basketball younger. They're excellent. They're doing a great job. The skills of the players entering college now are at a higher level than they've ever been. And so to me, that's the evolution of the game.
I saw once where you said, in your family growing up, bees were not allowed.
Yeah.
As you know, the women have won 8 straight gold medals. What kind of responsibility, pressure, burden is that on you?
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility to take over the mantle of the U.S. women's national team. There's a lot of pressure associated with the position. Good. It's supposed to be. To win at a high level, to win a World Cup, to win an Olympic gold medal, it's supposed to be difficult. And there's pressure associated with every single great achievement that there's ever been in the world. If you think about any great achievement, whether it was sport or not, there was pressure associated with it. There was risk associated with it. That's why it feels so good when you do it.
What do you think your late dad is looking down and saying?
I think he's excited. I think he's really proud. And I think he's probably like, I knew this was going to happen, because he was very ambitious.
Big supporter.
Yeah, big supporter, and was really confident in my abilities. So I think he's proud, but I don't think he's surprised.
Well, we are too, and thank you so much for this. And my producer and I are front runners, so please deliver, because now we're your people.
There you go.